Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, November the 13th, 2022. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. We made it through another week, and so I'd like to welcome everyone to the show tonight. This is where I go over climate-related items for the week, especially methane and Arctic and Antarctic sea ice and earthquakes. We just do a weekly roundup and just documenting the continued very quickly going on climate collapse going on around the planet. So I want to start out. We've got we're gonna have to. This show's gonna be a little different than they have been on Sunday, and gonna have to go on a little journey. We've got some changes in our data that we've been tracking. The first one I want to go over. We'll go over Climate Reanalyzer in a minute. The first one I want to go over is on the NOAA data, where I have been tracking the methane readings from the IASI product, and that's infrared atmospheric sounding interferometer. Been using this model since I started on this. Started tracking the methane with actual numbers in March of 2019, and if you'll recall, here's what the last time we had data was for the 29th, October 29th, and it had started going down, and we had peaked out on the 13th of 1951 parts per billion. I remember last week in my show how there was no data for the whole week, and I figured out what has happened. And this notice has been here, I guess, since they changed it. But I'll go into that in a second. But they still have all these parameters and everything. And in the past, we would go here, and you see all these different levels. You have a choice of their 100 different levels. The one I'd been tracking was this 477 millibar level. It said 477, and then you click on it, it says 469. So I'm thinking that the 469 is probably more accurate. And here it's no data again for the 12th, and that's what you're going to find. See, it's all grayed out. Same thing here on the afternoon reading. And this is the Met-Op 1, and it's also called the Met-Op B satellite. So I finally read the little notice up here, and it says the IASI products are now being produced as part of the NESDIS Common Cloud Format, or NCCF, Hyperspectral Enterprise Algorithm Package, or HEAP. The link to these products is here, and it's NCCF IASI Soundings Products. And if you click on that link, we've got a completely different model. Okay, I mean, it looks completely different, and so they switched over, and this is where we're going to have to get methane data now. And it's the same information that was available on the old model, and it's all this, the same information over here. And we're going to click. It starts, the default page comes up to first gas temperature, and then we've got water vapor, ozone, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and methane. So if we click on methane, we've got some more changes too. We now have readings from 2 satellites, MET-OP-B, which was MET-OP-1 that we'd been using, because the MET-OP-2 or MET-OP-A satellite, they decommissioned in November of last year. And so for the whole last year, we were only tracking one satellite. That was all the only one we had available, which was the MET-OP-B or MET-OP-1. But now we've got data for MET-OP-B and MET-OP-C, and I did some research on this MET-OP satellite series, and I'll leave links below under my show links if you want to read more about this MET-OP satellite series out of the EU. And so they just graduate so that they can have, as they retire one satellite, then they've got another one waiting in the wings. So we're going to have access to more data now. And okay, and it defaults to the day before, November the 12th, and we've got morning and afternoon, and then we've got the millibars. It defaults to 1,000 millibar, which is surface level, and that's one of the main levels that I track on cams. So I'm thinking this would be a good layer to track. Now you can see in our drop down we don't have 100 choices like we did in the old model. We've got 10, 11, 12. We've got 15 choices here. We've got 1,000 millibar, 840, 695, 487, 399, and so forth, all the way up to 0.838 millibar, which is right at the edge of the atmosphere, going up into space. And so the closest one to the 469 that we've been tracking is this 487 millibar. And so I'm thinking that I'll just continue. Well, I've got to start all over because the 487 and 469 readings are quite a bit different, and but this is closer to the 500 millibar reading, or 500 HPA, that we look at on cams. So we'll have a closer representation, And see, then this GIF looks the same, except the pressure is 487. We have Met Op B, and the date, November 12th in the morning. The mean or average here was 1920 parts per billion, and we've got our range again of 1599, and then whatever is the highest reading is here today, or the 12th, it was 2420. And so everything's the same. And the gray is where there's cloud cover. I found out with this model, they can only get data where there are no clouds. So that's why we have all this grayed out area. And then we switch to the afternoon, and here the mean was 1921. The high reading was 2404. So I'm just going to start over on my tracking. And so what we'll have is this whole data set I'm going to close out, and then I'll just add some new pages here for the new readings, and we'll just start a new chart. And I wanted to show also, go back to AM, this the first day of data was October 28th. Okay, so we'll start our reading with October 28th, and that will actually coincide with where we left off with the data that we got on October 29th. So a couple of days of overlap, but it's a different millibar reading, so you can't really compare this to what my old chart is. But at least we'll have numbers. And so I'll go back and start with October 28th, and I'll track Met Op B and Met Op C, and for morning and afternoon, and I'll do it for the 487 millibar. That'll be one data set, and then I'm going to track the 1000 millibar, and that will be another data set. And then we'll have more accurate comparisons to things going on cams. And so I haven't started that yet. I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. And see the Met Op C, this data runs looks like a little lower. These are polar orbiting satellites, and we're going to be able to do animations. I haven't even tried to do that yet. So so it looks like we're going to have more options with this too. So I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. I don't have any of the new data loaded in or chart or anything. I'm going to work on it this week, and then next Sunday we'll look at what we've got so far. And if anyone has any suggestions on how to do this, I would appreciate it. But I guess they had that notice up ever since we started having the no data, but you know, it's kind of fine print and they didn't point it out. I mean, you know, you gotta read the fine print here. So there's that. And that was my big discovery for this week. And then my other discovery, Climate Reanalyzer has changed their website. It's a little bit different format. Here we are on today's weather maps and the date and these parameters. This used to be over here on the upper right, and most of these are pretty much the same, and so we still have 2 meter temperatures with the maximum. This looks the same as before. I mean, with the format here with the picture, we still have our color chart on the right. Nothing's changed number wise as far as I can tell. And you see this used to be a rectangular flat view, global view, but now they made it rounded on the edges to look more like a globe. And then down here they say, they give all the information about the sources and all that stuff. And they tell the baseline, like it's a 22 on a 22-year baseline, which is used instead of a 30-year. Anyway, you can go and read all about that. And so we still see the whites here in Brazil, some in Africa, whites in Australia, and that's 40 C or higher, or about 100 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. And here's 2 meter temperature anomaly. Now so the format of this picture is the same, but remember how it used to have the whole overview down here, like worldwide up 0.4 C, Arctic up 2 C, and so forth. Well, now they've moved that down here, and it actually goes to 2 decimal points, so it's a little bit more data. But when I save these images, now we don't have the overview chart on the saved image, and so that's kind of upsetting me. They should have left this. They should have just left this part and put it up here under the round one, and then put it under the flat one, so that if you want to just save the image, you'll have all this overview, because without the numbers you can't track it from day to day. Same thing with the NOAA data. I mean, you can look at pictures all day long, like what we have here on Climate Reanalyzer and on CAMS, but unless you have actual numbers and raw data, you can't get accurate in your data, in your tracking and reporting. And so we've got browns up here over the Arctic and Canada, browns over Greenland, browns over this North Atlantic, coming all the way up to the Russia coastline, then browns all across Russia, and then browns on the eastern seaboard of the US, and then brown in the ocean there, and then the rest of the US and the rest of Canada are in blues and darker blue, like 10 to 14 C lower than normal. And here, see, Europe, you're still in the browns. And this has been in the browns for a couple of weeks now, from Spain and France all the way across to Russia, and now southern Russia and up into Kazakhstan is in the browns too. And so we have to go down here, and so worldwide we're at 0.39 C, higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is at 0.92 C. The Arctic is at 2.5 C. The Antarctic is down 3.7 C. The southern hemisphere is down 0.15 C. And the tropics are up 0.11 C. So what I'd have to do in order to save this data, instead of downloading an image, see, this is not an image, this is part of the web page. And so I would have to take a screenshot of this and then save it somewhere, and just kind of revamp the way I do these. But I think we need this information. And you know, we can go to the reanalysis page and find this, but it's you know, it's not up to date. I mean, it takes them a few days to get the reanalysis done and all that. So if you want real time, this is the closest we can get. Here's precipitation and clouds, and nothing's changed here with the format. The green is rain, and see this, I'm thinking this is what's left over from the Nicole hurricane. Maybe it's this, but it's this. Look at this huge atmospheric river swooping across the Atlantic and then doing a U-turn back to Greenland. Iceland, they're getting rain, and rain up to Alaska and northern Canada. And then here's our flatter view. And then they added a bunch of options over here. I haven't looked at them yet. Look at this. This is, precipitation anomaly. Let's see what it says down here. Precipitable water, TR. I don't know what TR means, but the PW is precipitable water. And anyway, and so generally when we're looking at the jet stream, the 250 HPA level is the one that's the one we've been looking at. And see, they've got these others, 500 HPA G-pot height, 500 HPA GPH anomaly. So you know, it looks more comprehensive. Here is the jet stream at 500 HPA and that's about halfway up in the atmosphere. But this is the one that we've been seeing, the 250 HPA, so we'll just continue with this. And here it's more of a roundish view instead of flat, but we can see it's all broken up in all these loops, and see the break here, that's where all the cold air is coming down from the Arctic. We've got another one trying to form right around the equator. This dotted line is the equator, so it's just above that. And they changed this. This is sea ice concentration and snow cover. And so the ice is kind of bluish white, and then the white on land, that's snow. So here we're able to see the snow a lot better. And then this chart and so the white is when you get at least 1 centimeter of snow, then it's going to show up white on land. And here's the ice concentration chart. And so we got that as light blue now. See that? So that's different. And then the other one I use all the time, sea surface temperature anomaly. They did not increase their range here. The highest it can go is 6C, higher than normal. And here we're still seeing a lot of browns across the Arctic. Reds and pinks off the east coast of the US and Canada. Here's the flat view. And see, most of the Atlantic is in browns. Atlantic. Mediterranean is still in browns and reds. Here in the North Sea and Baltic Sea, it's deep brown. And if we click on this, here we've got the Pacific Ocean. Here's our blob in the North Pacific and all the browns coming across. and from Indonesia across in the Browns here in the Tasman Sea between Australia and New Zealand. That's heating up. And then, look, no overview. And so, I think they messed up by not putting in the overview. No overview. So you just have to kind of guess. So maybe they'll get some feedback. They just changed it yesterday. So, if someone's watching my show and has an in with anyone at Climate Reanalyzer, some of this is better, but some of it's not better. And for tracking the data, just, the raw data with numbers, this is not better. Because we don't know. And anyway, there's that. So that was my other big thing of change for this week. Now, we'll go ahead and look at methane for yesterday, November 12th. This is on CAMS, Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service. We've got Saturday the 12th, Arctic view, and surface level ready. We'll load this up. And the data is for Saturday, and forecast period is Sunday through Wednesday. Oh, and I'd like to thank the person who sent me a donation this week. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate people showing their support, and it gives me confidence in continuing to do the research, and gives me a boost, and to know that people find this information useful to them, and that it's benefiting them. So thank you very much for your very kind donation. And there are two ways that you can support my work. I do have a PayPal link in the description box below, and that's one way you can support. Or you can go over to my Subscribe Star page, and for $5 a month, $5 a week, $5 a month, you'll get it's pretty much daily updates with methane and sea ice and earthquakes. And I do video updates almost every day, some kind of video update. So there's that. So here now, first of all, when we do the North Pole view, you'll see that from Spain all the way over to Russia is just a big blob. And we can see Norway is coming back to life, and the interior of Russia, see all this red. Komsomolets is still giving off methane. Also, this spot in the North Kara Sea. And also, see, we've got orange waves moving out across this East Siberian Sea and the Laptev Sea. This is coming up through the sea ice, by the way. Here we got hot spot. This is Koktovik, Alaska. And here in the interior of Alaska, it's gone way down, but periodically it's popping back up. In Canada, this is the tar sands region here, and see this area at North Dakota. That's that whole area. First of all, they've got a lignite coal mine there, and they've got oil drilling and gas refining. I don't know if, I guess that's still going on. I don't know if that's been squashed or what. And then these waves moving out. When you see the waves moving across, that's a sign of very high methane. Okay, now we'll go to the North Pole view. Oh, and I just discovered all that about the NOAA data on Thursday. So I've been looking at it and thinking about, what to do, and so I think continue collecting the data that's available, and that's all we can do. At least we'll have some data, and we'll see the trends, and we'll just go from there. So this looks awful. Look, from France. See the blob? See what I'm talking about? It's just solid. It's just solid, this dark reddish brown. And that is a range between 2160 and 10,000 parts per billion. Anywhere in between that, those two numbers, and it's a very large range. And so that's why we need actual numbers. Here's the Persian Gulf. Here's India filled up, spilling over into the Bengal Bay. Sri Lanka. Here's China. See, they're filling back up. Korea. And then up this east coast. And Russia, the Russia border is right here. So high here on this little southeast edge of Russia. Here's Japan. And then the U.S. I mean, this east side of the U.S. got so much rain this week with Nicole. And there have been, storms coming across too. So that'll make the methane higher too. Here comes a wave. Okay, now we'll go to the global view. Here we are. So, you see this darker blue here in the equatorial regions, and that's 1840 parts per billion. That's a little lower than this lighter blue that's been the main background color down here all summer, and that's 1860. And we're seeing a little hint of the next color down, this navy blue of 1820, right here in the Pacific. See where my pointer is? So it is going down, at least in the southern hemisphere. I don't know if it's really going down in the northern hemisphere or not. I mean, it looks pretty awful to me. And now 500 HPA. See the heavy over the Arctic. And then total column. And here, see, it's high as China, up to and across to Japan, and then India, then all these reds too. So there's that. And we'll look at these other couple of things here. This is carbon dioxide, again from CAMS. This is today. This is Popocata Petal and the Fuego volcano too. It's in this area. Here at Columbia, this is I think it's Reventador volcano there. And these reds, like over India and China, that's from pollution. Same thing here in the Red Sea, and so on. Here it is at 500 HPA, and with volcanoes especially, and sometimes earthquakes, we'll see heavy readings at 500 HPA because it shoots up into the atmosphere very quickly, and then it's heavier higher up in the atmosphere. And then we've got a red spot here at Kamchatka, and there are lots of volcanoes over there. And here's the ozone hole over the Antarctic today. We can see it shrinking down, and it's also starting to thicken a little bit. It's still down 4 layers in the danger zone. This is below 220 Dobson units. And most of the Antarctic is still in the ozone hole. Here on the Western Peninsula, we can see we're getting thicker ozone forming outside of the continent there. And here's the Arctic ozone, and it's thin coming across the North Pole. Also up the Atlantic Ocean, and see the green coming across Canada, and then on this eastern side, Canada, US, and this aqua, that's a hole over the eastern US. See this? That's been there for a couple of weeks now, off this eastern seaboard. And we normally don't see it real thin there. It tends to be thicker, but you know, methane eats away at the ozone. Along with other things. See all the greens. It's below average. And earthquakes. I just took a couple of pictures this afternoon when I was looking. We had 182 in the last 24 hours. And see all these are fives here: Japan, Taiwan, Indonesia, Philippines, Fiji, and here in South America we had a larger one, I think this was a 6.2. We'll look at that in a minute. And then the next size down, these are all 4s. So we've got a lot of movement around this ring of fire. And here's it was a 6.2 off the coast of Chile, and that came in yesterday at 6:24 p.m. Pacific time. Here's a 3.0. This is on the Juan de Fuca Plate. This is west of Oregon, out in the Pacific Ocean. This came in today at 12:47 p.m. And then this one came in while I was taking pictures. And this is a 5.1 in the middle of the North Atlantic at the Reykjanes Ridge. And this came in at 5:11 this afternoon. That's all of those. Now we'll move on to sea ice. And so this is we'll see the change in the model here. Starting with Climate Reanalyzer, here we are today with sea ice concentration. And the white, that's all snow, see? And so we can see it's coming back in the Baffin Bay, a little bit in the Hudson Bay, not much. These tributaries are refrozen, and this Beaufort Sea, it's refrozen up to Alaska and Canada. It's trying to reach to Barrow, but this Chukchi Sea is kind of struggling with a refreeze because the water is too warm for it to refreeze, and it's trying to come across the Bering Strait. And then Russia, we've got ice all along the Russia coastline now up to the Yamal Peninsula, and it's refrozen all the way across from Greenland and Canada all the way to Russia. Svalbard is still open, and it's inching back around Franz Josef Land and the North Kara Sea down to Novaya Zemlya. And this east edge of Greenland it's kind of struggling too. So here we were last Sunday. You see the difference? So here, see the land mass is in gray, and here the land mass was in brown, more geographic. So here we were last Sunday. So I'll just click through and we'll see what's happened this week. So here's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, there's the new model, and then today. So there's that. And then we'll move on to our other models. Here's the U.S. Navy sea ice thickness for the Arctic. And we can see it's thickening up, and you know, the light lavender is very thin, and then when you see the darker purple, that's thickening. So the dark purple is about 1 meter thick. The dark blue is about 1.25 meters thick, like these blues. And then the dark aqua is about 1.5 meters thick. The bright aqua is like 2 to 2.5 meters thick. Here we're seeing it thickening up and anchoring around Greenland and the Canadian coastlines. The green is about 3 meters thick. And we don't see hardly anything above the green. We've got a little bit of yellow and red here along the Canadian islands, and here next to Greenland. So this aqua piece is what's left of the thicker ice after our melt season this last summer. Alright, so that corresponds to what we saw on Climate Reanalyzer. Here's our 30-day animation. This was updated to yesterday, so the data goes back 3 weeks and the forecast goes out to next Saturday. So you can see it inching back on the extent. Let's see. So just more thickening here from the darker aqua to lighter aqua mainly. And it's starting to come back here in the Hudson Bay. See? Here we go. There's that. And here's the Beaufort Sea ice thickness. This is for today. And here's where it's come back to Alaska. Almost up to Barrow, right here. Not quite. And then Canada here. And here's this western edge. Here's the little red line. That's like 4 to 4.5 meters thick. And the darkest red, it goes up to 5 meters thick. Here's the green. And this 30-day animation was updated today, or to today. So the forecast goes out to next Sunday. So if we watch this Chukchi Sea area, see, I think this is going to be one of the last areas to refreeze. Because it's just too warm. So it's thickening too. Okay, now here's the Antarctic for today. So this is in the process of melting as the Arctic is refreezing. Sun is up, and we're going to start seeing some heavier melting going on. And see this whitish area here on the southeast edge. There's almost no ice when you see it like that. Just really patchy. And it's melting pretty good on this east side. The Weddell Sea, you'll see that it's starting to thin down. And on this western side, it's starting to thin down too. So here's the 30-day animation, and this was updated to yesterday. So the forecast goes out to next Saturday. See, that's breaking up pretty good here on this east side. See, and in the extent is, you can notice it shrinking now. There's that. Here's National Snow and Ice Data Center, and their latest data was it was from November 10th. And this is Arctic sea ice concentration. Where you see the white, that's solid ice. Doesn't mean it's thicker, it's just more solid. The brownish line is the median. And here's the chart for the refreeze. This is the 10th. So that was Friday. No, wait, 10th was... When was the 10th? That was Thursday. Okay. This blue line is this year's refreeze. The dotted line is 2012. And this is the median. So we're below the median, but we're still a little bit above 2012 and running kind of parallel with 2012. Here's the Antarctic, and you see the darker blues coming in where it's starting to really melt. And here's their melting, and it's not as at as steep an angle down as it had been, and we're still below last year, almost meeting up with last year. Greenland, this is going to be the last data for the winter on Greenland. We can see there's no melt going on now. This is as of the 11th. And here are the cumulative melt days for this year. The white is where there was no melt at all, and then you start seeing the blues, and then it just goes as it melts more days. You can see it going up to 90 to 100 days even. See on this darkest area, or above, it's 100 plus. So, you know, as things heat up and the melting season, I'm thinking, is gonna start sooner and last a little longer, we're gonna see just massive amounts of melt up here starting next year, I would say. And here's the chart for the extent, and see we're flatlined over here, but this red line is where it melted this year. See, we had some anomalous spikes late in the season. That was from rain. So there's that. Now, I wanted to show, this is on the National Snowy and Ice Data Center page. This was posted November 9th, record September, and it's a whole write-up of what went on with the melt this year from Greenland. It was a record September. September 22 conditions were very different from earlier months, notably the June to August period, and so on. It goes into lots of detail. And there's the runoff, melt production, exposed ice, and so on. So this is a whole recap of what went on with Greenland. And it says Antarctica today, coming soon. This was from November 10th. Due to the data provider systems maintenance, data outage from the Defense Meteorological Satellite Program, or DMSP satellites, is impacting the transition to Antarctica today. Daily extent mapping for the Antarctic ice sheet will restart when the issue is cleared. Mapping for the Greenland ice sheet is suspended for the winter. Calibration of yearly melt detection requires analysis of the springtime snow conditions by separate program. Our interactive chart supports a retrospective look at past Greenland melt seasons. This will remain available for our users. Daily image updates will resume for the Greenland ice sheet in April 2023. So that's the last of the Greenland data for this year. So I wanted to show that. Now, we'll move on. Now we're on NASA Worldview, and we're going to look at some sea ice. Starting here in the Arctic, see this big black circle? All of this area is now in the dark. And so it's inched up almost to the Bering Strait. And once this goes dark, then this Chukchi Sea will start cooling down. And here's Alaska. Northern part of Alaska is dark. Oops. Almost all of the Canadian archipelago is dark. About the top 2/3 of Greenland is in the dark. Iceland, you're almost getting ready to be dark there. Here's Norway. This is the top end of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and then this is Murmansk, Russia. They're in the dark. Svalbard, Franz Josef Land, Severnaya Zemlya, Novaya Zemlya, you're all in the dark. So, virtually all of the Russia coastline is in the dark. Just this little inlet here is still in the light. Now, we'll turn on sea ice concentration and see the whites, that solid ice. Where you see the pinks, that means that there are still cracks that have not refrozen. So we'll turn on our blue marble layer. And let's go to last Sunday, the 6th. Here we were then. And we'll just click through and see what's happened this week. So here's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So there's that. Then I'll turn that one off And I'm going to turn on my nighttime layer. And we'll see what we can see. Turn off the sea ice. Here we go. Look at this. So we're starting to be able to see a lot with this nighttime layer now that it's getting darker up there. Here's the east edge of the ice. This is Greenland. See, there's the ice. And then see the cracks. See, they're still, that's got to refreeze. See, these are called leads, these long cracks. And usually those are the last to freeze. See? Let's look here. Here's the Lincoln Sea. Here's the nearest strait. See, that's just pieces of ice. And this area has been struggling to refreeze in the winter time. Here is where it opens out in the Baffin Bay. See the open water, the dark there, and then the ice. It's in different stages of freezing, where you have a little thin skin, and you know, then it gets thicker, makes the bigger pieces. Here's the Baffin Bay. See? Now let's come up here. Here's Ellesmere Island. And here's the coastline. See? Now the thicker ice, it goes just north of Greenland, all the way across down to the Beaufort Sea and along this Canadian and Greenland coast. And we're looking through some clouds, I'm thinking. You see, it's still open right around the coastline. See that? Here's Barrow. That's where it's trying to refreeze. Here's the edge. Here's the Beaufort Sea. See, we're looking through some clouds there. Here's a good view. Look. See, there's our refreeze. And here's the wispy ice. Little wispy. Here's the Chukchi Sea. Here's the Bering Strait. So we got a little ice here on the Russia side. And that's a cloud by Alaska. Here's ice. Now we're over at Siberia. And see, it's open right around the coastline. Here's our refreeze. Here's Wrangell Island. Here's the ice. And now we're coming up to the East Siberian Sea. See? They're the leads. See, those have to refreeze. Look at that light. I wonder what that is. And here's New Siberian Islands. Here's the ice. And this is the Laptev Sea. This is almost like daylight. There's the refreeze. See? And Severnaya Zemlya. Here's Komsomolets. And it's around here that we've been seeing methane billow forever, it seems like. And also there's this hot spot here in the North Kara Sea where methane's coming up. Now, we can almost make out that Vovolov ice cap. Here it was on the 10th. There it is. See, it's still pouring into the ocean. Okay, back to today. Here's the ice coming back in the Kara Sea. And it's inching up. This is Novaya Zemlya. And see, it's open here. See all these lights? That's oh, look, this is a ship in the ocean. See the light? And when you see the lights on land, that's from some kind of building. This one, that's where the LNG facility is, liquid natural gas, on the Yamal Peninsula. Look, Moscow. You can see all the lights. And let's see what else. Here's the North Pole, right here. Normally we're not able to see right at the North Pole, so this is kind of a treat. See, it's right there. And there's that. So That was kind of neat, getting to look at that. So I'll turn that layer off. Okay, hold your eyes. We're going to the Antarctic. Ooh, bright. So here we are. Here's the Western Peninsula. See, it's all in the sunlight now. I'm going to start down here with my iceberg, my favorite iceberg right now. A76, you can see it there under the cloud. And it's just been going back and forth kind of all week. Let's go to last Sunday. Here it was, under the cloud last Sunday. So let's see what it's done this week. Here's Monday, Tuesday. There it goes. It's rotating. Here's the 9th. Look. It's kind of level. Here's the 10th. See, it's still rotating counterclockwise. There it goes. There's the 11th, 12th. It's moving a lot. How can it be moving that fast? I mean, it's spinning. Look at that. Oops, too far. So, it's going pretty fast in this counterclockwise rotation. And it's free and clear of any of those islands. Here's the Western Peninsula. Here's yesterday. Look at this. Here's the sea ice. And this is the Larsen Sea ice shelf. And there's the sea ice. And here's the Weddell Sea. Here's the Weddell ice shelf. And this is the Brunt ice shelf here. See all the ice? There's a cloud there. Here's yesterday. See, there's the ice. Let's go back. This was a good view on the 10th. You can see these cracks. I don't know when this is going to crack off. Or calve. I guess that sounds better. So a lot of melting going on here. And back to today. And this is all the Brunt ice shelf here. Here's the northern edge. Here's the eastern side. Now there's not much ice coming out from the coastline here on this east side. This is the Amory ice shelf, and there's the sea ice. See, not much ice here. Okay, here's the Totem Glacier. Here's the tongue. Look, you can see the ice cracking up here. And here's the Ross Sea. See how far out this ice comes. And there's the Ross Ice Shelf. This is Ross Island. There's Mount Erebus. There's the shadow. There's the ice. Here's ice. Then coming around this west side, there's open water. Yeah. A lot of open water here. We're tracking the Doomsday Glacier, which is right here. Let's go back. Right here. Got clouds. Okay. Here it was on the 11th. This is the glacier. And see the big open area? That's where the tongue has already cracked off. See, it's breaking up. Here's the tongue, see? See all these pieces? That's the ice breaking apart. And then over here, this is the Pine Island Glacier. And this is a good view. Here's the flow, see? And we've got a hole here. That's that's water, open water. This had calved off a couple of years ago. I don't know if y'all remember that, but last year there was ice. Look at this. This was 2019. That's kind of shocking, isn't it? See all that open water so early. November 12th of 2019. And here's the Thwaites Glacier. See, that was solid 2019. Here's a little crack coming across. There's the tongue. There's 2020. 2021. And here we are this year. Now there's open water right down there. And then coming on around. And this area, this has been a high melt area already on the west side. And we're back to where we started from. Now, let's look at earthquakes. Now we've got 172 in the last 24 hours. And it looks like things are picking up here in the North Atlantic. These have just come in this afternoon. So the 5.1 already showed. That came in at 5:11 this afternoon. And then a 4.4 at 7:36. And a 4.9 at 8:20. So that's still going. Now I wanted to show, let's go 7 days, all magnitudes. So for this week we've had 1,647 earthquakes, and we've had some big ones. Tonga and Fiji, look at this, South Pacific area. This was a 7.3 at Niafu, Tonga, and this was on the 11th. And 7.0 Fiji region on the 11th. This one was 587 kilometers deep. And then we've got 7.0 south of the Fiji Islands. That was on the 9th. 665 kilometers deep. 6.6 south of the Fiji Islands on the 9th. 623 kilometers deep. And 6.8 on the 9th. 628 kilometers deep. So this was just massive movement down here, and with them large and so deep, will definitely cause plate movement around the planet. Look at all of this. These are mainly 4s. Here's one at the Lake Baikal in Russia, 4.4. That came in on the 10th. And so on. And then we saw Chile. We saw the Chile earthquake. Let's see. Then up here in the lower 48, 787 this week. See all this movement. We had a swarm out here east of Pyramid Lake this week. We had 47 in these mountains just to the east. And it was over about a 3-day time period. They were mainly ones. It looks like 2.5 was the largest on the 8th. Oh, 2.6. That one was the largest on the 9th. there's that. And then there were quite a few on the west side of the lake. Here's Reno area. What else? Here's the movement on the Juan de Fuca plate. What the geysers have. Okay. The geysers were swarming. We had 182 here this week. So they were small, but still, 182. That's nothing to sneeze at. Here's the Bay Area. Look at that. And what else was I going to show? Let's look at 7 days, 2.5 magnitudes or higher. Here we go. Not much. 3.5 Wyoming, 3.0 southern Idaho, and so on. Go back to all magnitudes. Uh-oh. We just had a new one down here. Look. We were just looking down here. Here's a new one. 6.1 south of the Fiji Islands. This came in at 9:04. 627 kilometers deep. And it's 9:24 p.m. right now. So that's not stopping. So that's my report for tonight. And we will bring it back to a spiritual perspective. Just making our way through the Bible. We're reading out of the book of Job. And, when we read this, it makes me not want to complain at all about my life. Because he went through a lot, and he never turned his back on God. Job chapter 8. Then answered Bildad the Shuhite, and said, How long wilt thou speak these things? And how long shall the words of thy mouth be like a strong wind? Doth God pervert judgment, or doth the Almighty pervert justice? If the children have sinned against him, and we have cast them away for their transgression, if thou wouldest seek unto God betimes, and make thy supplication to the Almighty, if thou wert pure and upright, surely now he would await for thee, and make the habitation of thy righteousness prosperous. Though thy beginning was small, yet thy latter end should greatly increase. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare yourself to the search of their fathers, For we are but of yesterday and know nothing, because our days upon earth are a shadow. Shall not they teach thee and tell thee, and utter words out of their heart? Can the rush grow up without mire? Can the flag grow without water? Whilst it is yet in his greenness, and not cut down, it withereth before any other herb. So are the paths of all that forget God, and the hypocrite's hope shall perish, whose hope shall be cut off, and whose trust shall be a spider's web. He shall lean upon his house, but it shall not stand. He shall hold it fast, but it shall not endure. He is green before the sun, and his branch shooteth forth in his garden. His roots are wrapped about the heap, and seeth the place of stones. If he destroy him from his palace, then it shall deny him, saying, I have not seen thee. Behold, this is the joy of his way, and out of the earth shall others grow. Behold, God will not cast away a perfect man, neither will he help the evildoers, till he fill thy mouth with laughing, and thy lips with rejoicing. They that hate thee shall be clothed with shame, and the dwelling place of the wicked shall come to naught. Job chapter 8. So I'm praying for everyone. If you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, I highly recommend it. Now, while you still have a chance, I hope everyone has as good a week as possible, and hopefully we won't have any changes in the models this week, or if we do have changes, they'll be good changes. But Lord willing, I'll be back here next week with another weekly update for y'all. So, I love you all, and I'm praying for you. And until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.